5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Broadcasting live from the Newsmax studio in New York City. A fusion of politics, commentary, entertainment, and sports. Steve and his team bring you the latest news and opinion now. Here is Steve Malzberg.
The latest with the IRS is just unfathomable what's going on. It's worse than the scandal almost, and we're going to talk about it with J. Christian Adams. Before we get to Mr. Adams, let's all watch this, and then we will make it part of the discussion. Take a look.
Freedom From Religion Foundation sued the IRS, saying it wasn't doing its job in making sure that churches that have tax-exempt status weren't engaging in political activity. I talked with the co-president of that group, Dan Barker. He says they've reached a deal with the IRS, under which he says he's been assured the IRS is going to do more in this arena. He told me that churches and pastors have been getting away with too much.
Yeah, in the abomination, that's what it's all about. Freedom from religion, I guess. Joining us now to talk about this really egregious case that really we need to find out more about and hear more about is J. Christian Adams, former DOJ lawyer, current counsel, and contributing writer for the electoral agenda of the Obama Justice Department. Hello, sir.
Hey, Steve.
Always great to talk to you. All right, when I heard this, I mean, nothing shocks me anymore, but it even raised an eyebrow from me, and I said, what? This can't be right, can it?
Yeah, well, it's easy to understand when you realize what the IRS did with the Tea Party. And what they tried to do there is convert basic speech into politics. In other words, because the Tea Party talked about the Constitution, then they must be political and worthy of extra scrutiny. What's happening now with churches? Because churches talk about theological issues like abortion, same-sex marriage, the Freedom From Religion Foundation is saying, hey, that's political. The IRS should go after you. This administration toward, as the president put it, fundamentally transform the United States. It shouldn't surprise anybody because that's what this administration's all about, and that's undoing that which is America.
Right, and of course the tax-exempt status for religious institutions is a fundamental part of our culture and who we are, and it's basically criminalizing, if you want to look at it that way, and you're the legal expert. I mean, maybe not literally criminalizing it, no one will go to jail, but you take away the tax-exempt status of a church because in the homily the pastor talks about, for instance, sanctity of life or sanctity of marriage, and all of a sudden that's considered political speak. That is absolutely transforming America.
Well, and it's not hypothetical. You can read, Quinn Hillier has a piece at National Review where he found a letter from the Freedom From Religion Foundation asking exactly that, which you just described, and that is, because you talk about these theological issues like abortion, we all know that that's really politics, and therefore the church should be gone after by the IRS. I mean, they're naked about it. We don't even have to hypothesize that that's what they're up to because they put it in paper that that's what they're up to.
I'm sorry. No, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go ahead.
No, and so you need to understand that this is real. This is not sort of some distant danger. It's happening now. The IRS agreed to work with the Freedom From Religion Foundation to monitor sermons. That's right. Monitor what's happening inside churches. This is not some far-fetched sci-fi novel. This is Obama's America in 2014.
So you can't have police officers, according to this administration, you can't have police officers sit in a mosque, for instance, because there's reason to believe that there might be some kind of incitement going on in that mosque, but you can have IRS agents sitting in churches now? Is that it?
Well, that's what they're talking about. And, you know, make no mistake, there will be a bunch of lawyers who will tell you why this is such a good thing. You'll get the IRS commissioner up there, absent his uniform that sometimes you think he ought to be wearing, describing how this is the right thing to do. These people believe this, folks. That's the scariest part of the story, is there are lots of people in power who believe in what they're doing. They don't think they're doing anything wrong, and that's the most dangerous part of it.
All right, but for years and years and years, candidates have been brought to, for instance, let's say black churches. Is that going to undergo the same scrutiny?
Well, it may or it may not. Believer versus non-believer.
Right.
It's a battle centuries old, and it's showing up in America now, unfortunately. We had an establishment clause, a free exercise clause in the Constitution. We have this long tradition of respecting theology. But this administration, and more importantly, its supporters, who are overwhelmingly hostile to religion. When I say that, I'm talking about polling data. If you look at polling data, you will find that Obama's strongest supporters are non-religious. You will find his strongest opponents are religious. And that that polarization is showing up in policies because the people in power who are non-religious are using that power now to go after the religious.
All right, we're talking about an IRS that we now know so much about. That aside, but in the mix, how legal is this? How constitutional is this? And will this eventually wind up some agent or whoever sits in a church and says, okay, you talked about right to life, political, we're cutting your funding, and then it'll have to go through the courts? How will this work?
Well, here's how it would work. Look, the process is the pain, Steve. And so when the other so-and-so gave a homily that said such and such, is this true? Do you have notes from the homily? This is the sort of garbage the IRS was sending to the Tea Party, asking for the content of their prayers, asking for the names of volunteers. When those letters go out to churches, the game is won by the left. They don't need to go to court because you're going to see churches adjust their behavior. You're going to see churches who don't want to tangle with the IRS stop talking about theological issues that might anger those in power. This is a story as old as time, Steve. We've seen it across the centuries, across the continents. It's the people in power using their power to go after their enemies, even if they're theological enemies. And it's now starting to happen in the United States.
All right. Does the House, do the people with the purse strings, IRS, cut off much of its funding based on what we now know, especially in light of Lois Lerner's emails with the a-hole word and all that? Is it within the power of the Congress to stop this, thwart this before it actually begins?
Of course it is, because the founders knew this was going to happen someday. They knew that the government was going to abuse power because that's what governments do. They always do, they always will. So the founders gave Congress power in the Constitution to do something about it. The question is, will the people in Congress have the guts to use the power that the founders gave them? Will they have the guts to use the power of the purse? Will they have the guts to use other constitutional devices, such as the impeachment of low-level officers who abuse their power? You don't have to impeach the president. You can impeach any federal officer for abuse of power. Will the Congress have the power to protect our liberties? The answer is yes. Will they have the guts to do it? The answer is yet to be seen.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I think that when push comes to shove, they're not going to do anything prior to this election. But if this becomes problematic a year from now, I could see. I would hope I'm right. I could see this Congress saying, this has to stop if this becomes a problematic, and as your predictions come true, and what you say is already happening. I could see them saying, you want to shut down the government, Obama, over this? You want to shut down the government over freedom of religion? Go ahead, because I think that's one thing they might have a backbone for.
Translate this to politics. Are you kidding me? This is like the easiest issue there is for Republicans. If I was Speaker Boehner and I was a bunch of other folks on Capitol Hill, I would do nothing but talk about this.
Yeah.
This is how you mobilize a base ahead of the election.
Yeah.
This is how you win elections, is to go after them for attacking religion. It's easy stuff.
And you got to wonder. You got to wonder, what are they thinking? What is he thinking? Where is he? Why? I know they're on vacation, but for crying out loud, he should be the one coming on these shows and or just holding a press conference. And you're right, sending out surrogates to talk about nothing but this and let them try to defend it. This is insane.
Yeah, this is not about this is about something fundamental to people's lives. This is not some theoretical, abstract discussion. This is about what people think their purpose in the world is. You can't get any more real. It's even more, people with jobs, people without jobs, people who drive Cadillacs, people who drive pickup trucks. These things matter to those people. How the government treats them because of their faith. That, to me, is way more of a winning issue than jobs, frankly.
Than anything else. You're absolutely right. J. Christian Adams, always great to talk to you, sir. Thank you for bringing this to the fore, and keep at it.
Take care, Steve.
Take care. You too. I don't know what to say anymore. I really don't know what to say anymore. Can you imagine this? You can't put a cop in a mosque or any religious facility where you think something nefarious might be happening. That's spying. We don't do that. That's not America. But this is America? Where is Boehner? Where are the Republicans? Why aren't they talking about this? Why is it me and J. Christian Adams, quite frankly? What a wasted opportunity. Not more than opportunity. You got to alert the American people. You have to stop this before it starts or before it gets worse. All right. Up next, folks, once again, the Malzberg panel. So stay where you are. We're coming back right here on the Steve Malzberg Show.